Introduce Representative Summerlee.
Woo! Good morning, good morning. Let me tell you, it is good and it's an honor to be here with the heart, the soul, and the energy of our country, the energy and the soul and the heart of our party. I think that it's time that we have a reckoning. And it's going to be uncomfortable, because I think that as we're thinking about the future, we're thinking about how do we as a government, how do we as a party honor the scope and the scale of and the urgency of the moments, the crises that we're facing. It's going to take us to recognize the new coalition that we're going to need to address so many of the issues that we're here to address with these groups. That's why it's so good to be here today with March for Our Lives, with Sunrise, with Gen Z for Change, United We Dream Action, with youth and young people, even millennials, as I believe the youngest black woman in Congress, youth adjacent, all of us coming together to build this multiracial, multi-generational movement, because we recognize what's at stake. It's a good thing that we have so many people who are fired up to not just honor the past, to not just acknowledge what we have done, and we do acknowledge the things that we have achieved, accomplished in the last Congress and then with our administrations, but we have to push. We have to continue to push to expand the realm of what's possible, so that we are actually cashing in on the promises of this generation that they have been. And we know that we are dealing with a generation that has had so many promises fail on them. When we think about what this generation, and not just Gen Z, from Gen X, I'm not going to shout out to Jamal.
You too,
Bro. I don't assume to know what generation everybody's in. But so many of our generations have grown up with a false promise that has not been realized yet. When we think about the climate crisis, and we think about environmental racism in the black and the brown and the poor communities that have grown up in the shadows of industries that have extorted and exploited us and left our communities with poorer air quality or lead in our waters, we need a movement right now that is ready, that is urgent, that is capable to meet that moment. When we think about the gun violence crisis that our young people are living through right now, when we think about the drills, the fear, the apprehension, no other country on God's green earth do we have our young people growing up in this environment. We have to thank our March for Our Lives. People, kids, young people who have experienced the unimaginable, but instead of cowering, they've stood up and they've demanded change, immediate change, who fight even though they come to this place day in, week out, cycle in and out, and they've seen no change, and yet they continue to come. We have to honor the commitment, the action of young people who deserve better. When we think about the movement for Black lives, the unfulfilled promises of racial justice in this country, it's not enough to give lip service. We have to cash in, and we have to make sure that we are executing the plans and giving everybody and every person in this country what they need and they deserve. When we think about the fact that our country continues to come up with money for wars, that right now our bombs, our dollars are going to bomb and harm children in Gaza. It's time that we have a government that is responsive to the needs of our voters, not the money that comes in from lobbyists or super PACs. We have a charge and we have a mandate right now, and we're here to fulfill on that. And I think that right now we are the best pathway forward for this country. That's why I said, while we recognize all of the things that we need to yet accomplish, we should also recognize the opportunity that we have with us today, because the answer is here. The answer is with us. And right now, the best way forward is not to push aside this multiracial, multi-generational coalition. It's to lean into it. It's to embrace it. We won't win and save our democracy, which we all know. Everyone here knows that that is our charge right now. We all recognize the danger that a Trump presidency, that extremism and fascism poses to each of our communities. We know better than anyone. And that's why we're fighting harder than anyone. That's why we are building these coalitions, because we know that the past isn't just going to be the same old folks who drove the Democratic parties of the past, but we know that the future can only go through young people, through black and brown people, through our immigrants, through our working class and our poor, through our labor unions. And when we bring that coalition together, we are unstoppable. So we're here today to acknowledge what we've done, but to say that we have more to do, and we have the people who are ready to do it. We know exactly who to turn to. So let's finish the job. Let's lift up the people people who are going to hold up our country. Let's lift up the people who are not saying that we want to build for the money, but instead for the many. And I'm proud to be here with you all today. So thank you for being here. And I think that I am handing it off to my good friend Elise, who is next.